It's time for a morning walk, and then after that, we will be attacking the sweet potatoes.
And welcome back to the boring country life. It's mid-September, so that means it's time to harvest the sweet potatoes. We had several days of rain ahead of us, according to the forecast, so we thought this was a good day to bring this crop in and get the bed cleaned up and ready for winter and next spring. This was the first time that I had planted my sweet potatoes in a wall bed. Now, in the past, I had done it in ground beds since we've designed this garden with all the raised beds. And years before that, I had planted sweet potatoes in the ground. And they kind of had unlimited rain. They could basically go wherever they wanted. It was hard to keep up with them. I think one year I bordered the edges of the sweet potato bed with plastic to try and stop the plants from rooting and making even more sweet potatoes. But this worked out really well in these beds. They grew really well. I kept them watered with the soaker hose that you can see remnants of in the bed. And the side that my husband was collecting the sweet potatoes on, that part of the soaker hose actually had more breaks in it. And so more water came out over there. And you can tell that the sweet potatoes on his side are actually much larger than the ones that were in the middle and on my side. But having the sweet potatoes in this bed made it very easy to trim the plants. So sweet potato vines are in the morning glory family, and they will just grow and grow and grow unless the temperature gets too cold. So we would just go through every other week or so once the plants got big and trim all of the greens off that were hanging over the sides of the bed. So the chickens were thrilled for the last 2 months to get sweet potato leaves very often thrown into their pen. Now, it's no secret that we are personally not fans of sweet potatoes. Well, not yet anyway. And I really do mean not yet, because I know that tastes can adapt and change, and we're going to eat more of them again this winter, and we're going to keep eating them every year and trying to find new ways to prepare them that we might like better, because we do want to like sweet potatoes. We just don't love them quite yet. Since we don't consume sweet potatoes, at least not often, not on a regular basis, why would we give our time and any of our growing space to planting and growing sweet potatoes? Well, here are the 5 reasons we do in no particular order. Number 1, they seem to have no pest issues. When you look at all the problems that you come up against with potatoes or squash or tomatoes or corn, the sweet potatoes seem to have basically no pest issues, if you don't count deer, because deer love to eat the greens. So if you have a way to keep the deer away, which we do because of our dogs, then there's really no pest issues. So there's no competition in growing them. Our second reason would be for their storage capabilities. We can put these sweet potatoes into our conditioned crawl space under our home, and they will last much longer than 6 months. We've had them go 7, 8, 9 months and still be in the same condition. So this is great if you are growing and trying to eat crops from your own property. You've probably eaten through a lot of your crops by the time spring comes, and there's that little gap of time before your late spring, early summer crops start to come in, where you might be a little more hungry. And so the sweet potatoes can fill in that time period really well, since they store for so long. And their great storage leads to reason number 3 for why we grow the sweet potatoes, which is they are fairly easy to propagate. So whereas I have to work a little more, pay a little more attention to the white potatoes in order to get those leftover potatoes to last until spring planting, the sweet potatoes are going to last plenty long, no problem at all. And it's really easy to propagate new slips and to get more plants growing from the existing sweet potatoes. You can also propagate multiple plants from one sweet potato. So you can either do the method where you put half the potato in water and you let the slips grow off the top, and then you remove those slips when they get to a decent size and you stick them in a jar of water and let them root. And every little individual stem that you broke off of the sweet potato is now a new plant that will produce many more sweet potatoes. You can also take your one sweet potato and plant it kind of halfway down into the dirt, and it'll just grow all those slips from the top and make lots of plants that way too. I did both ways this year, and it always works better when you grow them from the plant in the dirt, but they both worked really well. So there's no problem propagating them. I don't have to worry about like seeds going bad or the sweet potatoes rotting because they just store for so well. So it's easy to grow more. The fourth reason that we grow them is because they are a very nutritious crop. And even though we don't eat them much, we know that we should. And so we're going to keep trying, but we also want to have that nutrition available should we really come to a place where we need it. And that is our fourth reason for growing them, very nutritious. And the final reason that we continue to grow them and grow more than we will eat is for sharing. We can cook these up and use them also for dog food. And we have lots of friends that like sweet potatoes, and they might not grow a garden, might not be able to grow as much as we can. And we love being able to share. So it's a win-win-win with the sweet potatoes. The only last part that we need to conquer is our taste buds. Otherwise, we will keep growing sweet potatoes every year, even if it's just a small bed with 5 plants. These did really well this year, and I appreciate the size of the harvest, and I look forward to trying more once they have finished curing. If you have any ways you like to prepare your sweet potatoes, whether simple or complicated, I would love to hear about it. I might not try the super complicated ways, but I can still get ideas from it. If you were growing in a regular bed on the ground, even if it wasn't a raised bed, you would still want to add 1 to 2 inches of compost to the top of your soil every fall or really early spring. But we add a few more inches than that, especially in these wall beds, because they do continue to sink every year. We did fill them mostly underneath with wood chips. So as those break down, the beds do sink a little, but it's great food for the earthworms and all the critters that love to live in the dirt. So we do add several inches of compost to a bed when we're done growing with it for the season, or if it is between crops and the bed has sunk a lot. So we really love having the dingo here to fill the beds for us. Otherwise, we wheelbarrow it in, or I'll fill buckets and bring them over in one of my garden wagons and fill the beds that way. Sometimes it's just more convenient if I don't feel like driving the machine, but my husband was home today and he took care of that part for me. And also, he would probably rather me not drive the machine near the walls because you are always risking me bumping into the walls by accident. So that wouldn't be good.
Well, bed 1 is emptied of all of the sweet potatoes now. Now I had planted 10 to 12 either slips or whole sweet potatoes that were flowering, growing slips on them. And probably close to 100 pounds, maybe 70 to 100 pounds of sweet potatoes are what came from here. And we took all the greens down to the chickens. They absolutely love sweet potato greens and devour them. We're not cultured enough to eat them yet, but I do know that there are cultures that eat sweet potato greens. And then my husband refilled the wall with mushroom compost. And the lighter stuff mixed in on top is ash from the wood stove that has been sitting in a bucket getting wet all summer. So that'll mix in over the winter. I don't plan on planting anything in here this fall. That'll just sit until early spring. And I have not decided my layout plans for next year yet. The only other things we might add to this wall are coffee grounds by the pound from Starbucks for free, alfalfa pellets, and I think that's it. That bed is ready to go. Up next, I'll take you on a quick garden tour, so stay tuned.